Hello, I decided to have this video about depression. Depression. And when you're doing a double letter, when you're spelling, you do move it. You can do this, but most of the time you move it. And the reason why you move it is to show that it is a double S. You don't want to bounce when you're spelling. You want to keep everything kind of even. Like my name is Eileen, so it's Eileen, right? So I didn't go E, I didn't bounce it like depression. I didn't bounce it. I just moved it. But it needs to show that it's another S. And Eileen, Eileen. I just moved it instead of doing this. So even though I've taught you this is E, this is, but when it's like having a letter for shorting, a lot of people who are interpreters or deaf people will end up going with the two fingers for an E because it's quicker than this. E-I-L. But see, notice my first one is E-I-L, and I wouldn't do N. When I first started learning, I did do E-E-N. But then it began to do the double, and you'll see a lot of native signers and long-time sign language users using that. Anyway, so the sign for depression, there's two ways that I've seen it. And then most of the time is you're going to see it with this, the open 8 hand, both hands. And they're going to start from here, which is, your chest area is, a lot of the emotion is there. And so it starts here and then it goes down. And you just go straight down and you have your facial expression and you have your body language is like depressed. I've also seen it this way. I've seen a lot of deaf people do this where they take it and they just kind of push it down, and I don't know, it almost seems like I see more of emotion that way. But this isn't any less emotion, right? It's depressed. But it also goes with the facial expression. Depressed. So what is the conversation about depression that we're going to use today? So if someone says that they are depressed or depressed, you might see this. It depends on the person, how they grew up, how they learned the sign. So I want you to see most of the signs that you will see so that you can recognize it and you're not stopping someone, especially if they're depressed, and go, oh, what was that? Anyway, so if they say, oh, I've just been so depressed lately, and then you can respond by saying, oh, have you gone to the doctor? Did you tell the doctor? No, I haven't told the doctor. Well, maybe you should tell your doctor. And then you can discuss about the doctor will have a form, and it's an F hand shape, and you just do it in a sheet of paper. You just frame the sheet of paper. You don't have to do all over your face. You can not cover your face, but a form, and then you fill it out. This is to fill out instead of writing. You could say writing on it, but this is the sign to fill out the form. You're just covering everything about the form. Instead of this, you're doing this. And then they say, oh, well, there's a form fill out, and then what? Do what? And then they give it to a psychiatrist. Now, this is the sign for psychiatrist or a psychologist. So there is a difference, because usually a psychiatrist is the one that can give you a prescription like for antidepressive medication. A psychologist, that mostly is talk therapy. So, and then we'll go to counselor. So hang on, stay with me. So they'll send you to a psychiatrist. Oh, what do I do? I don't know, maybe they'll give you some medicine or maybe some talk therapy. Talk therapy? What is that? Counseling. So they may, usually when I was interpreting for medical, when they said talk therapy, I didn't say talk therapy, I did counseling. maybe talk with a counselor, or I would do counseling, and I go, you go and see a counselor and you talk and chat and you tell them what's bothering you, what's upsetting you, and then you can discuss it, and they can help you that way. So a counselor or counseling, if it's talk therapy, then it's counseling. So that's the difference, as opposed to a prescription. For example, if it's a psychiatrist, then they'll talk with you and maybe have you have some other forms, fill them out, and discuss what your issues are, if you've had prior problems, blah, blah, blah. And then they would write you a prescription. Then, after that, every time they would go and see the psychiatrist, every 3 months normally, then they would say, oh, how are you doing? How's the medicine? So it was mostly, at that point, discussion about the medicine. How are you doing with the medicine? Do you feel better? Is it improvement? So it's more about the medicine, and then they'll give you a refill. And so I spell that, and it's not that easy, right? It doesn't flow. REFIL. And I just move it instead of LL. You don't want to bounce your letters. You want to just have it really smooth, because when you bounce it, it kind of makes your eyes and your head go a little bit different. But if you're doing refill, and actually the double L, then that kind of gives them an idea what you're spelling as well. So, so that's really the difference. So you can discuss. That's what a psychiatrist does. Is they mostly discuss about the medicine going forward. Now, if they decide that, if they're saying, oh, I'm still the same, and if they want to increase the medicine, increase the dosage, or you can say increase the milligrams, mg, or they want to change the medicine. So increase the milligrams or change the medicine or add another medicine. So those are the signs that they would see. Now, if they're going to a counselor, that's a little bit different. Then you normally go regularly, like every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, that the therapist, T, and it's the sign for help, right? To help you, a therapist is a helper, or, it helps you. So a therapist, that's the sign for therapist. Then you would see the therapist more frequently. And so it would depend on what the therapist decided that you needed, or the two people need or want. And then they discuss about their problems, their issues, and maybe find a solution or coping skills or those kind of things. So they're there more helping. They're not really there to give you medicine. If they go to the counselor first, and then as they discuss and weeks go by and nothing improves, then they may send them to a psychiatrist to give them a prescription if they're not able to. So a counselor normally is like a social worker, SW with the help, SW worker, and they don't have that PhD or an MD, and a psychiatrist has an MD. A PhD normally does not give medicine or prescription, but a medical doctor, that can be a psychiatrist, will give them the medication. They're the only people that can write a prescription, if I'm saying that correctly. But that's normally the way they do that, and I think that's the way they like to do that, is to divide it up that way. So a social worker, or I think they have other letters behind their name, and then the other ones have a PhD, and then the other ones would have an MD. So the MD would have writing the prescription for these mental health issues. So they may find out, if they go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, that they have depression plus anxiety. Most of the time, those two go together. They have anxiety and depression. That doesn't mean that they're bipolar. Bipolar, that's just the sign for bipolar. It doesn't mean that. It just means that normally those two emotions go together. And so they have to kind of discuss that with the therapist. They may be telling you, but you might want to advise them and say, oh, well, ask your doctor the next time you go to your doctor, or set up an appointment with your doctor, your regular doctor. PCP, they may not know. PCP, your regular doctor. I did that a lot instead of PCP. Sometimes I do PCP, and they're going, I go, your regular doctor that you go see. Oh, yeah, for blood pressure or whatever. You go see your regular doctor first, and you tell them you're depressed, and they have this form that they fill out, and then they recommend you or refer, remember this is to send, to refer you to a psychiatrist or a counselor. So that's going to depend on the doctor. I would say probably most of the time they would refer you to a psychologist, and then they can make that decision. If I'm not going to say all, I'm going to say many or even most deaf people have Medicare. And so normally it's covered under that. It may be depending on the clinic or the hospital or even the area where they live, it may be a long wait, which is terrible for depressed people. But sometimes that is true. It's just this long wait because they're just so busy and full. Their schedules are full. So that's a hard one. But if they have a friend they can discuss with and chat with, that may help them. And that's if they need like talk therapy. If that helps to kind of, then maybe prescription is not needed. But you don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't know if someone needs the medication. But if it is associated with that anxiety, then probably medication would be good for the anxiety. So anti-anxiety and anti-depression medicine many times go together. They're in the same prescription. So those are the things that I have seen in my interpreting profession. And sometimes they have to put them into a mental hospital for a short time, or sometimes even for several months. I saw a woman, she had a lot of depression, and she was in the hospital for a long time, but this place was for moms that had children, and so the children were sent to like other family members or I don't know, foster care, and then they needed to take medication and have counseling, both, and they lived there because most of the time those women were on drugs previously, so they have to get them off the drugs, and then they needed to see a therapist and antidepressant and anti-anxiety medicine, and then they could be all ready to see their children, and you could see the change in that person. And then they were ready to see their children, and then eventually, after a few months, they were able to go home. So those types of places are really good, and they are geared toward women. There'd be no men there. So I have seen that and worked there and seen these, really just wonderful miracles happen. So anyway, so if you have a friend that has depression or they get down, and I use this sign for sad because being down or bummed out, we'd say, is more of a sad. Depression is more serious. This is more serious or has a deeper, because the deaf people will really hold on to their chest and just go down, and so that's more of an intense emotion. Anyway, so I hope this is helpful, and please, if you like my videos, then hit the like button. And if you have a suggestion for a topic or a discussion or conversation or signs that you want to know, please leave it in the comment section, and I'll be happy to do a video for that. So I will see y'all later. Bye.